All right. So here's our meeting agenda for today. We got I have an action research class that we're doing at the Cumberland, and part of our action research was go through and look up what our problem was, and we're going to go over that. So we had test scores are lower than expected, the research that I have on the test taking strategies, and then going over the baseline data, and then the first action that I put in, and then the second action, and then a little bit of reflection afterwards. All right, so the first problem I had is that I noticed that students were scoring lower on the test, and that they were scoring much lower on stuff that we were going over in the beginning of units as compared to like the stuff that we did right before the test was over. So the strategy that I found was that if we started implementing some more technology and using Kahoot as a way to as a form of assessment to help them out and to make sure that they can see what they need to study, what they know already, what they don't know. Then the last part would be that just as for me, that I could say, okay, these kids aren't knowing this part right now. It's something that I can help them out with before we move on. So I read an article about Kahoot. And Kahoot's an app where you have a pop quiz on there where they have 4 answer choices, and they choose the answer choice. And you can do it as a team or individually. And that was part of the tweaks that I have on here, too. All right, so first part is the baseline data from the nationalism test. We have 4 A's, 8 B's, 7 C's, 5 D's, and 3 F's. And the percentages are all go through here. So what I noticed on there is that I wasn't very happy that we had close to 30% of the class that was either getting an F or a D. And I wanted to see what we could do to help boost that up to get them into a more proficient or even exemplary grade. So the first part, I used the Team Kahoot, and I thought that this Team Kahoot could be really useful because they could work in groups of 4, and maybe some peer tutoring or scaffolding would take place and help them out with that. So what I saw is that it did help, and it greatly reduced the number of F's, and the number of D's was still a little higher than I would like, but there's 28%. But then the biggest change was that there's like almost half the class got a B. Over half the class got an A or a B on that test. Then I used, for the imperialism test, we did an individual Kahoot instead of a team Kahoot. I wanted to see if there was any difference there between the two. And the biggest difference on this one is that the amount of A's increased dramatically, but the amount of F's went back down. All right, so here's that reflection I have for this. So with the team Kahoot, the results of the test, the F's decreased from 11% to 4%, and the B's increased from 30% to 48%. So I thought that there was both positives from the team Kahoot as well as the individual Kahoot. The individual Kahoot, the A's increased from 15% to 26%. I thought that was a huge gap that the individual Kahoot it brought those people that were at B's up to A's. With the team Kahoot, I felt like it was more people going from S to passing instead. With the individual Kahoot results, since there was no peer tutoring going on, there was no scaffolding, the amount of F's increased back up to 11%. All right, so here's some more of this. The next step I have with these positive and negative effects is I wonder if I could do them both together. If I have enough time in class where we can have a team Kahoot where that scaffolding could take place, where those lower level learners could get up to a more proficient range, and then individual Kahoot where the higher level learners can challenge themselves more and have more of that competitive nature to go through and get move them up to an even higher grade. So I'm planning on doing this next with the World War I test next to compare all of these.